Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Actors Reading Writers 2.
Tumbling curls of green by a stained glass streaming light, and a yellow-coloured lampshade used to keep us up all night.
This is Travellers, a poem by George Gisho Robertson. You think you are a ship, sails set, lean and trimmed, a greyhound of a vessel, cutting towards horizons and islands, and you have a chart of sorts that begins to make some sense despite fears of the weather and pirates.
Short story. This is the opening of a short story by Janet H. Swinney, shortly to be published by Early Works Press in its 2013 anthology. Is it Sunday yet? Any moment now, the phone would ring and it would be Effie with her inevitable question. Barbara needed to get a move on. They'd been out last night and she hadn't had time to do the vegetables or prepare the roast. It was pork. After all these years, she could just about get the crackling right. She slit the hide with a Stanley knife and rubbed salt into its wounds.
At least my last conversation with Rob was face to face. That's something, I suppose. He loved phones and gadgets and that. I mean, we never had much superficial stuff in common, but... Still no call, no message, nothing. Oh, God. No, the room looks bigger from this angle on a sofa. I don't think I've ever laid this way round before.
With Dad in bed, less than 100 yards away, it felt vaguely treacherous. When I'd finished, she leant against the hayfork she had been using to spread the straw. I can see her now. A 66-year-old woman who, despite the baggy faded blue dungarees and the stray bits of straw sticking out of her hair, was shining in the light of this lover's memory.
40 kilometres from the air traffic tower, invisible against a thin blue sky, the man flying the cramped Cessna settled his face into a relaxed smile. Ahmed, my new friend, is just a good loop. My instructor's learn to fly system is based on repetition. The last few words was in Zib Romero's fluent Turkish, delivered in the faultless way that so piqued Ahmed's curiosity on day one. Not many Brazilian nationals got free run of Turkish military airspace, and fewer still spoke the language perfectly, without accent. My auntie's a real stickler for procedure. Tango out.
Hostage, an extract from a story by Guy Ware. Hostage will be included in Best British Short Stories 2013 to be published by Salt in April. All the way home she had a feeling something wasn't right. It was late, but not too late for the last train, and dark on the walk from the station, but what would she expect? Autumn had almost collapsed into winter, the last leaves huddled around streetlights like pickets at the brazier, throwing the pavements into irregular shifting shadow. She was drunk, of course, but that wasn't it. Outside the station, the roadworks that had been there in the morning, that had been there for weeks, weren't there. The corner shop was closed, its windows shuttered and blank. It was after midnight, of course it was shut. She was just drunk.
And when you said... So I thought you knew. It seemed like... And... But then... No. For both of us. I never. Never. but still. I and you.
If we love each other, try we must. But if you ever want to try again sometime, you have my heart, I am your friend.
She had been passionately drawn to him, to his face, to his body, to the mystery and energy that he effortlessly encased, separate from the crowd, perhaps not even part of this world, but caught in orbit just outside her own. At these times, Defila will imagine herself floating in the middle of an ocean, the cheers and musical fanfares echoing from the seabed, blurring into each other, sounding as though she was recalling a memory, not living in one that others would keep.
Adjacent strangers sit half naked. The usual gaps and spaces are bridged. Bodies sweat in unison, and on this Tuesday morning in a wooden box in southeast London, day-to-day rules of proximity are ignored. Today there are 6 residents. Young northern woman, ponytailed and slick with post-gym sweat. A Japanese medical student thinking about his microbiology essay and wishing he'd kept up his less drink, more think New Year's resolution. 2 Caribbean grandmothers happily discussing the persistent rain beyond the walls, remembering a childhood of far-off warmth and rich sunshine. The 5th is a young man from Uganda, his perfectly chiselled torso beautifully stretching over the wooden slats. His flesh stops right above his right knee. Below is a metal limb, a man-made replacement for man-made destruction.
My cat, ignorant of the most basic asanas of Yanga and Ashtanga, disdaining Bikram and Kripalu, successfully pursues the royal path instead. And yet, despite his scorn for basic training in the yogic arts, can lick his own bottom with ease.
A familiar face emerges from the gents, someone I know vaguely from my clubbing days. He's celebrating, just won a big contract. Swaying slightly, he beckons to someone else over my shoulder. "That's my brother," he says proudly as I turn around. A man lurches towards us, handsome, wearing an expensive suit. He's looking at me like I'm lunch, or possibly by this time, dessert. I can tell he's having trouble focusing. "Hi," he says, thrusting his face and body into the area I regard as my defensible space. "I'm tiny, pissed off, PR. I smell alcohol, tobacco, something spicy. What are you drinking, babe?" He gestures aggressively to the barman. "Oi, Cicero! We'll have another round of Bellinis, pronto, my man, and a cup of tea." "Hang on, I could do with espresso myself." "Yeah, cool, babe." "Coffee, it's my saviour, I know what I mean." "Homeopathy? What's that? Massage and stuff? Have you thought about expanding your client base? Here's my card, maybe we should get together. Crucial, you know. Shit, I'm vibrating."
The hall littered with bodies, my wife a stranger, lined with years of patient impatience, haunted by grey-hair ghosts. Lichen wisps on an ancient olive tree. The grizzled dog was wise to die. So many stories to tell, but who would believe a man so celebrated for deception? The island is smaller than memory, rock-strewn, grazed down by goats, The people sullen. They say fishing is not what it was. Growing is not what it was. Trading is not what it was. They offer stony deference due to an old man, an autocrat with not long to live.
I can honestly say that your work stood out from all the others.
Yeah, I was saying to your mother, it left me speechless.
Well, you know it works when it just comes out from somewhere. You have to trust your instincts. You can't be too in your head.
I couldn't see a note on that installation of yours. What was it called?
Transient macrocosm 4.
Oh, and the broken bulbs were to show things are transient.
No, don't be dim. It's a reflection on how transience and political intransigence are just broken paradigms of an institutionalized society. I put it on the exam paper.
Well, I think that really came across.
Oh, I was afraid of making it too obvious. I wanted the viewer to work for it.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't worry about that.
I'd just like to ask the writers to stand up, just because we're going to be available if you want to talk to us, because we do get very lonely. It's a hard life behind the writer. So, if people can make themselves known, unfortunately we do have one absence, which is Mabel Jones, but if I go through, so Siobhan Braywood Wyatt, where we are. Fraser, Sue Lanson, Ian Richardson, George Shisho Robertson, Jeremy Smitty, how pretty they are. And there's still books for sale, and if you ask nicely, people may sign them.